So now we are going to make Italian meringue buttercream. It's a silky smooth buttercream, and for those who don't like graininess in the buttercream like the American buttercream, which uses icing sugar and butter. Now this does not have the granules or the grains of sugar at all. It is going to be a very smooth textured sweetened buttercream. Okay, so the ingredients I have here are the egg whites and sugar. There's water. The sugar and the water, we are going to make sugar syrup, and that's vanilla extract to flavor it. And then the butter has to be firm. Okay, now it is quite firm. It cannot be in room temperature and soft, but it can't be like too cold from the fridge directly. So you can take it out of the fridge say 15 minutes before you are ready for this step, and after which cut them into cubes so you can incorporate them easily while making the buttercream. Okay, so now for the steps, the butter will be needed at the end. Now I am going to do two things parallelly, which is to have the egg whites beating in the stand mixer until it becomes foamy and frothy. Okay, there will be like stiff peaks formed already, and by that time I have to get the sugar syrup boiling, and I need to take it to the temperature of 114 to 117 degrees Celsius. I have the laser thermometer to check that. You could use your candy thermometer also to do that, and by that time the sugar syrup reaches that temperature, the whites should be already frothy and foamy. Okay, so now as for the first step, I am going to get the whites beating. Let me also have the stove ready. Okay, so into the KitchenAid stand mixer, I am going to add egg whites. So while I see the egg whites frothing up, I will start making the sugar syrup. So let me add the sugar and the water in the saucepan. We mix and get the water combined with sugar well. Okay, but I am just going to switch the stove on while the egg whites is frothing up, because it is not going to take too much time on medium high flame for the sugar syrup to reach the softball stage, which is 114 to 117 degrees Celsius. So the egg whites now has started to froth up, you can see there, and at this time I am going to switch on the stove and let the sugar syrup boil. You can parallelly see the sugar syrup is going to start boiling while the egg white is also foaming up. You want to allow the sugar to completely dissolve when you are going to allow the sugar syrup to boil. If you are using granulated sugar and if the grains are bigger, then process the sugar in the food processor, the mixie, and then use a little finer sugar for this step, because if the granules of sugar is not dissolved but then the sugar syrup starts to boil, then you are just going to have the granules remain and then crystallization would start. Now the stage in which we are going to look for the temperature is when there are going to be like bigger air bubbles that start forming. So now you can see the bubbles are forming. I am also having a check on the egg whites. It is frothing up and coming out good. You can see there are quite a lot of bubbles at this stage. Now I am just going to have the thermometer, it's at 110. So you know when the bubbles are going to start coming, just going to wait for 114. There is cold AC right in front, so its temperature is reducing. Okay, so that's a 114. So I'm just going to remove this off the stove and okay, so now I'm going to keep this running. So let me show you the texture of the whites. It is just quite foamy, okay, and it is nice and stiff. Okay, so at this stage I'm going to let the sugar syrup, pouring it as the beater is running. So just want to stop and show how it looks right after the sugar syrup is added. The bottom is like really very hot at the stage, but that's how it's just going to get the sugar syrup mixed. And this peaks is not enough at all because we've just added the sugar syrup, right? We need to continue to beat this on medium high speed and keep checking the bottom of the bowl. If you have a stainless steel bowl, really good, but then the bottom of the bowl should come to complete room temperature, and that is when you know the meringue is formed, which is the egg whites and the sugar syrup together. If the meringue is going to be warm and if you're going to add the butter, now the warm meringue will keep melting the butter and then you will have a very soupy buttercream. To avoid that, we need to get the meringue to complete room temperature. At this stage, I just want to add the vanilla extract. And increase the speed. So let me show you consistency at this stage. Just hoping the meringue will be stiff peaks. Okay, so it is quite soft, but then the meringue is forming, and let me check the temperature as well. You really don't want a very stiff meringue for this purpose. Okay, so 32 is room temperature, but then don't want to check only on the top. So fold it in and then get to the bottom. So the bottom also is 30, which means the whole thing is turned to room temperature, and this is the consistency we can look at. Don't wait for complete stiff peaks. It is holding shape, but the peaks is falling down, which is soft, which is fine. And now at this stage, add the butter 1 cube at a time while the beater is running, and wait to see how the butter is getting incorporated. So there are two ways the butter could get incorporated and you will have stiff peaks on the go itself. But then there is also a possibility, depending on the temperature and the consistency of the butter you're adding, you could end up having a soupy buttercream, maybe because the meringue is not room temperature. And in that case, if you find a soupy buttercream on the go in this process, do not panic, continue to beat on high speed for a longer period of time, and then that soupy buttercream will come together into a stiff and a smooth consistency buttercream. So at that stage, do not panic. When you added all the butter and you find it in a liquid state and then like curdled and soupy, just increase the speed and continue beating. Now at this stage, I am going to add the butter cubes one at a time and wait until each cube is incorporated fully. Just going to cut the butter into further smaller cubes, so incorporating them would be a little easier. So added in all the butter. I'm going to keep beating it for some time. I just want to stop at the stage and show you how it looks. It's not curdled, but that's what it's going to look like at this stage. Let me just show. There's some bits of butter which is still not incorporated yet. Okay, so it is turned liquid right now. I'm going to increase the speed and keep beating, and then we'll see how this mixture turns into a stiff and shiny smooth buttercream. I just want to check, also show you how it looks when that soupy texture, how it's just changed. You can see it is not liquid anymore. It is coming together, but you can see there is little bit of the curdled texture at the bottom. So I'm just going to mix it together. You can see from the soupy stage it is starting to become stiff, and that's what we are looking at. I'm going to scrape it out and put it back again, continue on high speed and keep beating, and then until it becomes smooth, creamy buttercream. So let's check how it looks. So you can see how it's just turned out to be a stiff and creamy buttercream from the soupy stage, right? So this is the texture we are looking at. You can beat it for like say 30 seconds to 1 more minute, but it has come together really well, and this is good to go, and we could use this on the cake. Let me beat 30 more seconds before I just remove the beater also. we finally have the Italian meringue buttercream made. So you can see the stiff, smooth and silky buttercream. Okay, so that is just ready to use on the cake. Spread it or flavor it. Now this is a plain vanilla flavored buttercream, which is not grainy, silky, smooth. Okay, and now making of the buttercream should be the last step before you move ahead to layer the cakes. You can't make the buttercream and then keep it in the refrigerator to be used at a later point of time. This is not part of the pre-prep. You have to keep all your elements, your sponges, your any flavor thing that you need to add it into your cake, or you know, the other elements, like if you want to flavor it with strawberries or caramel or whatever, all that should be pre-made and be in the fridge. And then the sponge has to be already baked and frozen, and by the time you are ready to make this, that is when you will take the sponge from the freezer and keep it out for layering the cakes. And once this is made, you can directly fill a piping bag with this buttercream, and use a piping bag to fill, or if you would like to just scoop with your spatula and then spread it on your cake, you could just keep it in the same bowl and then use it to lay your fill and frost a cake. Now if you have excess, and that should go into airtight container to be kept in the refrigerator, which you could use it on later, but at that time you need to take it out, thaw and then beat it to get it to the right consistency before you have to use it back. So once it goes into the fridge, the consistency will change. So keep this as the last thing to make before you are ready to put it on the cake. You don't even have to make it like 2 hours before and keep waiting, and then maybe if the room temperature is not right, then this could go melting and you will have to figure out how to get it to the right consistency again. So have everything ready and keep this as the last thing to do. And once you have this from this bowl, and then you are ready to do it on the cakes to fill and frost. Now let's see how we are going to use this to combine with the cake and to layer, fill and frost in another lesson. Now I'm going to show you a trick in which you can make the IMBC and take it to another better level, a richer level. So your buttercream is just going to be very unique than any other buttercream that anybody else would make. So there are certain tricks like this which will make the Fondbites students cake and the work be very unique. So you want your clients coming back to you asking for more, because this is going to be very unique, right? There is this IMBC recipe, and there is IMBC recipe everywhere, and once the trick has been cracked, then everybody's IMBC is going to taste or look and feel the same. Now what are we going to do to take and make our work a little unique? So for me, the trick is to add pastry cream, like how it's been added into the whipped cream to make cream diplomat, and so the whole thing becomes richer because there's yolk in it or the custard powder, and there is milk in it, and this extra addition of the milk, custard powder or the yolk into the buttercream gives another level of taste to the buttercream, and that is what we are going to do. So we've made the pastry cream ahead of time, and then the IMBC is just made now. Now this pastry cream would be having lumps. So I'm going to use a beater and then beat this whole thing, make it lump free, after which I'm going to add this into the buttercream and then fold it. So we don't want to beat back again because the consistency could have a mismatch. So if you're going to fold two different things which are of different temperatures and consistencies, do not put them together and beat at a stretch, or they could form lumps, and then it is just going to be not as great as it should be. So now I'm going to use the beater. Okay. So now I'm just going to soften up the buttercream once. I'm just going to add the pastry cream in. Now I'm just going to fold and combine. So now we have this magical buttercream, Italian meringue buttercream. This you could do to any buttercream that you make. Even if you're going to add any flavors and then get the buttercream flavored. Now say, for example, if you have to make strawberry flavored buttercream, then how you make the strawberry mousse is the cream diplomat, which has the whipping cream, pastry cream and the strawberry compote. Now if you have to flavor this buttercream into strawberry, then we have the buttercream and pastry cream, and that we have here. Into this, if you are going to add the strawberry compote and then fold it, then we have a strawberry flavored buttercream. Similarly, you could flavor this with anything, like add ganache or melted chocolate, and then you have chocolate buttercream, and then you add in your caramel sauce, and then you have your caramel buttercream, and then you could also add an instant coffee powder to it and then make it coffee buttercream. And if you want to make it like Oreo or any of the the candies, like the biscuits, like maybe say the Twix or the Ferrero Rocher types, that you could just grind and then mix it into this, or you could add Nutella and then mix it. And then if you want a peanut butter buttercream, then add the peanut butter into this and mix. So this will be the base for anything that you need to flavor and then create your cake using buttercream. Then you make your buttercream and then add pastry cream in it, and then add your any other flavoring into it, and so you create flavors using the buttercream itself. Now we are going to use this plain buttercream, which is this magical thing that's gone inside and elevated the flavor to another higher level.